back to the channel, everybody. Thank you so much for checking out my content. It really means a lot to me. Today we'll be covering a book called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferris, and more importantly, what I think it means for all you realtors out there trying to cut back on the hours that you're working in order to get the most out of your business. So for those of you that don't know, I also run a channel called Not Your Typical Book Club. It's with three other fine gentlemen, Cedrick Gauthier, Christian Charon, and Rami Albino. We are all working in the real estate industry. Cedrick and Chris are realtors, and Rami is a mortgage broker. And we read interesting books, and we talk about, what we think about those books. It doesn't necessarily have to apply to real estate. It's just a fun thing that we do. So today I will bring you on of today's episode with Cedrick when we discuss the 4-Hour Workweek, a book that I very much like, written by Tim Ferris. So I hope you enjoy it. Welcome back, everybody, to an episode of Not Your Typical Book Club. This week we are covering the famous book by Tim Ferris, The 4-Hour Workweek. Definitely one of my favorite authors and mentors. If you haven't listened to his podcast, I highly recommend it. It's very, very good. But we're here to talk about the 4-Hour Workweek and how that relates to real estate agents, real estate experts, mortgage lenders, people in the real estate industry. Sorry for the notifications. I just turned off my phone. So before we get into this book, I'm joined here by my colleague, Cedrick Gauthier. Before we get into the meat of this book, I think there are two principles that we should talk about. One of them is called the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule, and the other one is called Parkinson's law. So, Cedrick, maybe you could explain to our viewers what the Pareto's principle is.
Sure. Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule, is kind of simple. It's pretty much that 20% of your success or problems or whatever result you want to take is 80% of all of those is created by 20% of whatever you do. So like in terms of a GDP of a country, 80% of the GDP will be created by 20% of the same people instead of and then if you have clients or problems with clients, most of the times it's going to be your best 20 clients are going to result in 80% of your revenues, and 80% of your problems are going to be created by these 20% of those clients. So the idea here is to pinpoint those good clients or good whatever in terms of your business or your life or good things, and try to focus on those 20%, so you will be able to increase your input and happiness.
Yeah. Just for an example for the people listening, a few weeks ago I broke down every single deal that I've done this year, and I identified where those deals came from. And all of them, except for one, came from my sphere of influence and referrals. So they were all repeat clients, all referrals from people that I already knew, and one came from online lead generation.
But how many hours did you spend working on online leads and how to generate them and all that, right?
Well, that's the thing, right? If I look at my online lead generation, I think I spent around $12,000 for online leads. For the referral, I do a newsletter every single month, probably for 7 months. We're in July. It cost me $700.
That's it. There you go.
So I mean, like,
and a lot less time, right? And so that's kind of there's a principle in real estate that you have.
And that online deal fell apart.
Boom. There's a principle in real estate that not all leads are created equal.
No,
so you have good leads and bad leads, or leads that are high success or low success. So if you're able to generate the high success leads, which are referrals and sphere of influence, focus on that. Put all your time in that 20% instead of the 80.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not 80-20, sometimes it's 95-5. 5% of your actions will lead to 95% of your results.
Mhm.
And for me, that's building on my database. Oh, we got a roofer coming in, so we might hear some banging. Okay, so that is the Pareto's principle. Identify what is meaningful, work on that to get the most results. There's also the Parkinson's law. And if you're okay, I'll give a brief description of what it is. So I don't know if you've ever had a 9 to 5 job and you're just going at it. You know, you're finding ways to look busy. You find yourself walking around the office with the phone on your ear, you know, just to look like you're busy, to show to your colleagues, oh, holy my God, Marty's working hard. He's like going all the time. But in reality, if you didn't have the 8 hours to accomplish all your tasks and you were given, let's say, 90 minutes, you'd find a way to make it happen. You would cut all the fluff. You would get rid of everything that's not necessary, and you would focus on what's important. So that's the Parkinson's law. All work expands to the time allowed for it. So if you shrink your time, you will most likely be able to do the same amount of work in less time. I don't know when's the last time you went out on a vacation. I know last year you went on a nice few weeks vacation in Africa, right?
Yeah, Morocco.
Do you remember the few days leading up to your vacation?
I was a machine.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how that happens. I'm
Mm.
the same way. Whenever I'm heading out on a vacation, everything gets done.
Or even like when I was there, every 2 or 3 days, I'd just say, okay, I'm gonna work for 1 hour. So I'd go upstairs, hide from everybody, work for an hour, and I'm probably doing a day of work of when I'm here because
Yeah.
I'm not distracted and I'll talk to anybody. I just do my own thing. Did my job properly from over there.
So those two concepts are foundations of the book, Parkinson's Law and Pareto Principle. And then Tim does a great job of breaking down the book into four main chapters. So he uses the acronym of DEAL, DEAL. D is for determining, E is for elimination, A is for automation, and L is for liberation. And D is not for determining, it's for definition. Sorry. So let's cover these four chapters, these four concepts, and let's start with D is for definition. D is for definition is just like I would say to any realtor that is asking me for advice. You know, what's the most important thing in real estate when you're starting out? I would say that the most important thing on the first day is to define a goal. You know, a lot of agents that I've seen, give me the answer of, what's your goal this year, new agent? Well, it's to make as much money as possible. Those agents often get discouraged because as much money as possible, although it sounds great, is not a target to hit. It's like you're shooting an arrow and like, I want it to hit, I just want it to go. Sorry, you're not really aiming at anything. So define what it is that you want. And the 4-hour work week explains that. What do you want? What toys do you want? Don't be afraid of appearing shallow. Don't be afraid of looking back. Just be honest with yourself. I want to drive a Maserati. Okay, well, how much does that cost? Well, I could probably get one that's used for, I don't know, $130,000, and I could finance it over 5 years. Well, it's going to break down to a $1,300 a month payment. I don't know, right? It's just an example.
Yeah.
Things often cost a lot less than what we think. A lot of people go through life trying to accumulate huge amounts of wealth, so that they could get to one day, sit by the beach, have margaritas, and just live off the interest of what they made. But honestly, like, if you just want to get to that point, you could probably get there a lot faster if you're honest with yourself.
And to be honest with you, that was me for my whole life. So in the past year, I've changed a little bit my tune and where how I want to get there, but it's not just how, it's when I'll get there, right? So the issue too is you work as much as you can for 30, 40 years, then you retire and you're like, okay, I'm not going to do anything now, I'm going to relax. um, that 30 to 40 years that you've worked are the best years of your life. That's when you're in shape. That's when you can enjoy it with your kids. That's when you're able to actually do the stuff that you want to do. When I'm at 70, the odds are that I'm not going to be able to do the same thing.
Continue that rant. I just have to go get that door. So sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so I have to admit that's a bit weird. Yeah, so I guess it's to try to find a way to enjoy the process at the same time as you're actually accumulating that wealth, or you're achieving your goals. If you're only working, and I've been that type, just work, and not focus on that for a very long time, and not focus on the rest for a very long time, you don't enjoy the process as much. You get tired, and it's a little harder to, you get discouraged as well. But by focusing on enjoying it throughout the journey, you'll probably last even longer.
Sorry about that. Did you talk about the idea of mini retirements?
No, should have though.
Yeah, so that idea is something new that was introduced to me by this book. And it's like, as opposed to saving up all your money for the end, just take a few mini retirements throughout your life,
Mm-hmm.
Don't buy useless stuff.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, so you think, so let's just say he says stuff like, okay, so just do a mini retirement, go for a month in Morocco or 6 weeks in Costa Rica or whatever, right? And all I can think of is, okay, so $250 a night for a hotel. To like, you start calculating and like, it's way too much money. It's insane. Yeah. But so he breaks it down into how to actually not pay that much money, to do it a lot cheaper, and to make it so that once you're there, you're able to enjoy everything there without going into too much luxury. And it's simple stuff as, don't book, like from here in Canada, trying to go to Costa Rica, I have access to whatever is put online, right? So whatever prices are there, there's not much I can do. But if you go there, you book 2 nights or a hostel for 2-3 nights, and then you talk to the locals and you figure out that there's a nice little place over there on top of that hill that doesn't cost as much money, right? Or you're realizing you get there and it's not the right city for you. It's not the right atmosphere. You don't enjoy it, but you booked 6 weeks already. There's no choice. You're going to spend all that money and stay at a place that you don't like. So it's just ways of, enjoying it more and not spending as much money.
And going there to enjoy it. Many times in my life, I've booked a 1-week vacation in Cancun, or, Playa del Carmen or Punta Cana. You go there, you got 1 week. What do? You party hard. Man, like, you don't have time to relax. You're just there. You're like there for 1 week, and you're like, I got to get the most of it. I need to go out and party that night. Oh, the next day I need to go sightseeing. Oh, I need to go check out this town. It's like, Tim says it, we're in a society of binge travelers. We have all this stuff to see in like a few days or a week, and he says that it's much better to go at it at a slower pace, and experience travel.
Yeah, exactly. Stay at the same place for a long time instead. Enjoy it thoroughly. The first time I realized that it was a problem for me and my wife is 2016. I went to see Darren Hardy for his Insane Productivity course in San Diego. So the program was 2 days, 2 full days, and then we were staying another 4 days in San Diego just to visit and use it as a mini vacation. There's nothing in San Diego we didn't see. Whatever the tourist attraction, we saw it. I don't care, we saw it. So after those 4 days, we were done, so tired. And honestly, the last 2 days, I didn't enjoy it really, because it was all like, okay, so at 2 we have to be there. It's not you know what, we're there 4 days, maybe we see 3 and we enjoy, you know, a little beer on the side on a patio or something like that instead. And you know what, San Diego is not going anywhere. We'll come back
Exactly.
or book a longer time. And the other thing about the book is he's trying to get you to work from there. So you're taking a mini retirement, yes, like a vacation, an extended stay there. But what if you're able to do most of your work there anyway? Structure it so that you're not gone as much. So you're able to get some revenue that's coming in at the same time.
So let's move to the next chapter, the E, which is for elimination.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've touched on it there a bit. You know, try to get rid of the stuff that's not important.
Yeah.
You're listening to this, whoever you are, this might not be the case for you, but for me, I've been in the real estate industry for 15 years. I've probably hosted over 200 open houses. How many deals have I generated from open houses?
That's me, same.
I have never generated one single deal. I had one guy come in and say, I'm going to buy this house. And then
Financing
after I close the open house, my phone rings. Hey, it's such and such from Remax. I think you just met my client. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the beast for me. So for me, open houses, it's just not my thing, man. So eliminate that stuff. It's a requirement on my time on a Sunday afternoon. Some agents are very good at them. And for newer agents, it's good. You know, you get your feet wet. You can get to talk to people. It could be a confidence builder. You might be able to generate leads from it. I know some agents that do a good job from it. But Tim talks about elimination. It's just not my bag. So I don't need to be there. I can eliminate that from my workload. So focus on the activities that work. And for me, that's building a business by referral.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. The other thing to eliminate if you want to have that lifestyle is also your expenses. Tim goes into detail into like whatever that you have, whatever that you like do the 80-20 rule for what you own as well. So like think about everything in your house. There's 20% of what you own that will generate 80% of what you do, right? So same with clothes. 20%, you probably only use 20% of all your clothes. I'm the same way. Probably not even 20%, right? Get rid of that. Sell it, right? If you can, or give it away. Same thing for whatever, like your it could be decorations, it could be like if you have a second whatever, right? Get rid of that. So it's just clutter in your home, it's clutter in your mind. It's just, if you're able to generate a bit of money, well then that also helps you during your mini retirement. But like if you're, for example, you go away for a month and a half, cancel your insurance. If you leave for longer, well then whatever you don't need, sell the car. Like it's just like, don't do a car payment or pay car insurance when you're not using it. Cancel your cable, cancel your internet. Like your bills shrink so that you're able to stay there longer with the same amount of money. Look
at your expenses. And Nissan Canada, if you're unhappy with me, speak to Tim. This is the reason why I got rid of my car. A few weeks ago, I was up for renewal on the lease, and I was driving a nice Infiniti, this beautiful car. But the new reality is that with this pandemic that hit, my girlfriend's doing telework, right? She's working from home, and she has a car, and she has a car payment. So we just eliminated my car. We can share one vehicle. I don't have to pay for a car anymore. I don't have to pay for my insurance premium. I help her pay her car. I help her pay her insurance. And it's costing me it's saving me about 90% on my automotive expenses. And
how has your life been impacted, right? Not much.
My bank account's a bit healthier. It's a bit thicker.
Yeah, that's it. You have one more spot in your driveway.
One more spot in the driveway. I think in the last 3 months, I've had to go pick her up at work once.
Yeah.
It's like,
Worst case, if you can't go there, call an Uber, right?
exactly. And
Five Ubers a week is not going to be your 5 Ubers a week is not going to be your car payment.
No, definitely not. And I've looked at other ways that I could get around. I live a 10-minute bike ride from work. I said, I'm getting rid of the car. I'm working at the office some days. I don't need to meet with clients. I'm going to bike to work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm healthier. My wallet is healthier. It's like a win-win-win.
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
So for me,
Once you start going down that road, you want to do more,
oh yeah,
right? So like it's not just a car. Then you're going to want to start doing it with this, and then next thing you know, you don't need to generate the same income to have the same lifestyle.
no, definitely not. And I'm not any less happy.
Probably more.
Probably.
Because you're able to tell that story. You're able to tell that story.
There's no stress. There's no like payment coming out of my account for whatever the car payment was every first of the month. So it's all good. Let's move on to automation.
Yes.
Okay, automation. So what did you think about the whole virtual assistant idea? Because I know we both have automation in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
You have an assistant, I have an assistant, but I really like having a person that I can, interact with face to face.
It's a tricky one for me, and if that's probably the time that I paused the audiobook the most, just to think, just okay, what about that concept, and just try to think how I could apply it in my life. And I think one of the things that we're scared of is to give out control or making sure that it's done properly, right? I think that's not even control for me. Just me, you have somebody that's dealing with your clients and your business. You want to make sure that it's done properly. So having somebody that you trust in your office is a lot easier than having somebody overseas that you just talk to through email or even call. So, but I think that if I would build a thorough system that's very well detailed with my current assistant, he could train that person overseas to do it, because there's nothing in the work of my assistant that, or even him working from overseas, couldn't do. Nothing. Like 100% of the work that he does, he could do from anywhere. So it is possible. It is possible. It's just a trust factor is hard for me, but it is 100% possible. It's just process.
I'm willing to give it a go. Maybe we follow up in a few weeks, and I'll do a follow-up video on this topic. I really like my assistant here in Ottawa, and there are some things that I like having in the city, but there's a lot of tasks that don't need to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a tremendous cost savings.
Unreal.
Tremendous.
Mm-hmm. Or you're able to have two, right? Yeah. So let's just say, last week I was thinking of hiring a marketing manager, somebody that would handle my social media, that would come up with ideas and stuff like that. I'm great at coming up with the ideas. I'm not that great at following up with as being consistent with my social media. So somebody that just takes care of it would do a lot of good. And then I'm like, so I started to think, okay, but I have somebody full-time there. I have 50,000 here. Then I'm going to hire another marketing manager. Is probably going to be the same thing, if not more. I have 100,000 just there. And I'm like, well, I can't justify that. However, if I have a virtual assistant that I'm paying a quarter of that, and then a marketing manager that doesn't need to be there 40 hours a week. A marketing manager could be there 20 or 15 probably and do the job that I need right now, right? So for less than I'm paying now, I could have a personal assistant and somebody that does my marketing at the same time. So there are some ways to doing it, but it's just, again, it comes back to the trust factor.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I will be giving it a go, and we'll see if if it works for me.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. So let's move on to the last topic, which is L for liberation. What he's talking about here is liberation of location. Be free to work from anywhere in the world. So that goes a lot hand in hand with like the automation of your process. But
So I think like it's really the last part of the whole process. You can't just decide tomorrow morning I'm gonna go work from Morocco. It's not gonna work.
so he says that if you're a 9 to 5 employee, it's not DEAL, it's DELA, because before you can automate everything, you need to liberate yourself from that jail,
Mm-hmm.
from that prison of a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
We're entrepreneurs. We don't really have a boss. So for us, it's DEAL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Automation, then go liberate yourself. This book made me sad in one way, and it really got me looking at people's 9 to 5 jobs as like freaking prisons, man. It's like
Yeah.
it's like you need to be here. Well, I'm not really doing anything for like 6 hours, and you know, you've had this conversation with friends, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of jobs are just there to exist. Like there's people that are working in government jobs, and I know a lot of people in the government work very, very hard, but I also know that some people at the government, they say it, they like, what, man, like I got nothing to do, like I got a few emails to send and I just need to be there.
So Tim's whole idea is to be more productive at work. So one of the things that he mentions is that most of the time, you can probably do 8 hours of work in 2 or even less if you're super, super productive or well organized and well set up. I was talking to a client maybe 6 months ago, and he told me that he is at the government. He doesn't work hard during the day because he doesn't want to. He talks to colleagues, he watches videos, he does his own thing. But 3 times a week, he'll stay half an hour later that he's supposed to, or like an hour later, and start sending email to his bosses asking questions or delegating stuff. And so he looks like he's doing overtime. Well, he's doing nothing all day, or not working hard all day. Like pretty much telling me that if he would only have 2 hours to do his stuff, he'd be more than okay to do it. But it's just a perception, right? So just staying longer and then trying to work after hours.
Tim talks about that. He says that those type of people, they usually climb the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
They look busy. But he also gives a very good breakdown of how you can liberate yourself from your work environment, and he goes into a whole script. The way you approach your boss, the way you could say, he calls it the puppy dog close, where he says, "Hey, why don't you take this idea home for the weekend and see how you like it? If you don't like it, that's okay. We could take it back. We'll take this puppy home for the weekend. Who's going to bring back a puppy?" Right? So it's called the puppy dog close. And he says to his employer, I'm going to, be working from home this week. I promise to do all my tasks, and I'm just going to try it out for 1 week. Why don't we give it a go? And then you let me know what you think. And then you make sure that when you do take that week of liberation, you kill it. You absolutely do all your tasks a bit more. And then that way you could have your employer start to realize, oh, well, no, Cedrick doesn't need to work from the office. He can, work from home.
Or start like 2 days or 1 day a week and just go further out. You gave the example of a guy that I think his job was from home, like they were working from home, but then he wanted to work remotely. So he just he just took off and was in whatever country that he talked at the time, and just did all his work from that country. He was technically on vacation, but was super productive during his small time. Was probably working a lot less hours than he would supposed to, but these hours were productive. Nobody even knew that he was gone. His all like his office phone number was forwarded to his cell. He was talking to them from over there. Nobody even noticed. And then he presented it back to his boss saying, hey, that's what happened. I'm super productive this way. Nobody's ever going to know. Can I start working from wherever? And then there's no real argument against it.
No. It's amazing. This book it's truly an original. The ideas in this book are not ideas that were regurgitated, from other books that I've read before. It is truly a unique idea. He uses, principles like Parkinson's law and Pareto principle to back up his theories, but it really got me thinking different. And it's a second go through for me. I read it in 2007 or 8. I think it came out in 2006. But like rereading it again, over 10 years later, really made a difference for me.
There are a few books that rereading them makes a big difference. And for me, it was my first go, but I agree that sometimes just those principles, just, to reread them or re-listen to them will just bring it back and reinforce what you read.
Yeah. So that was it for, the DEAL acronym. But, a good section of this book, Tim goes into case studies. So he talks about this stuff. He has people that have actually gone out, worked with the 4-hour week model and have, success with it. And it's not only 20-something-year-old bachelor and bachelorettes. There's some families in there, people with young kids that ended up traveling the world, buying a yacht in France, sailing it across the entire globe, coming back, selling the yacht, and it cost them $18,000 American for the entire year. If I told you I was taking that type of adventure, you'd be like, holy shit, that probably cost you like, $300,000. That must have been an amazing, you're lucky to have that type of money. But no, this family did it for $18,000.
Yeah.
If I stay in Ottawa, and it's gonna probably cost me more than $18,000 just to have a place to rent and to feed myself. So no, tons of good case studies at the end of this book.
And I'm planning on being one of them. Like I had, while reading this book, I was talking to my wife with Val, and then I'm like, so what do you say next year we go spend a month somewhere? And she's like, where? I'm like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. That's not important. Just we'll structure our things so we can spend 1 month. My business is going to be structured that I can do almost anything from over there. Obviously not working 8 hours a day, but almost anything from there other than showings and going on listing appointments, which I can do, partially virtually anyway. So there are some ways of doing it. It's just taking the leap.
Of course. I love this book. So let's rate it out of 5 stars. How many? You want me to go first?
Sure. Yeah.
So I always think about the books that I rated before, some of my other favorite books, The Compound Effect, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. This book is right up there, and I have to give it a rating similar to those other books. So I'm going to give it a 4.8 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and I like to rate higher ratings on books that I can really take, and I can feel like it's going to change something for me, and this book is one of them. I had 4.8 in mind. The problem is I've rated too many books 4.8 before. I think I've screwed up my my rating system a while ago. So
Not Jocko's.
What's that?
Not Jocko's.
No. That was somewhere in the twos.
We
Uh,
have to read another one of his books.
and you know what? Like after reading it, I looked into it, and Chris was right. You're not supposed to read it cover to cover. Like it's sections that are designed for something. So if it's super repetitive, like it's normal because you're not supposed to read the whole thing right away. So, but anyway, that wasn't a good book for me. I have to say 4.8 again, maybe 4.9, something like that. I'll do 4.9.
Yeah, is that higher or lower than Compound Effect?
Compound Effect was 5. 5 out of 5 just because of the impact it had on me. Like it changed everything. I wouldn't be here today if I didn't read that book.
Gotcha.
And maybe in 2 to 3 years we do this again. I'll say that the 4-hour work week is a 5 as well.
Yeah.
If I'm able to apply stuff like that, it can change my life.
If the principles stick.
That's it. If I'm able to apply them and use them. Yeah.
Yeah. Right now I'm dating a lot of these ideas, but I could really see myself marrying these ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, going long term.
Going long term. Going for realsies.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in and listening to our Not Your Typical Book Club channel. We'll be taking a break for the rest of the summer. We'll be back in September with some more books. If you're reading this from now till then, comment in the section below. Let us know which books you would like us to cover. We love getting feedback from you guys. We've got a little community that's starting up, a subscriber base, and I'm really excited to get this channel up and going. But I'm getting a lot of value just by reading the book and having a conversation with like-minded people. So
yeah, I agree.
I guess that'll be it for today.
Mm-hmm.
We're good?
Yeah, it's great.
Good stuff. So 4.8 for me, and Cedrick,
4.9.
There you go.
That's good.
Cool, everybody. Have a great rest of the summer, and we'll see you in the fall. Ciao.